hey Quinn, you hear that the Queen of England died? And then I'm gonna say something like, yeah, people are really upset about that. We should be delicate about that topic. And then I'm gonna be like, fuck her. Nah, I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to do this.
As the episode starts, we see Kat riding around the apartment hallway on some sort of motorized mini go-kart. Sam approaches, eating a massive watermelon, and rushes towards the offer to drive Kat's zingy thingy. She throws her watermelon into the arms of an elderly woman who collapses from the added weight. In just a few short moments, we have been reminded of so many character traits. Sam's gluttonous disposition, disregard for the safety of strangers and the elderly, and Kat's inability to be trusted as a babysitter due to her basically already acting like a child. Sam discovers the living room is filled with toys and demands Kat explain where they came from. Kat explains they came from an ATM. A magic ATM. Sam begins to question the logic of this, as Kat has no bank account before she discovers another zingy thing and the pair head off to race each other. Sam, Kat, and the two kids play in the street where they're approached by Herb, who you'll remember as their neighbor who looks homeless but actually isn't. Herb tells the kids that he just got a gym membership and it's in Beverly Hills, that is. He says that it cost a lot of money, but luckily, he can afford such expenses.
My life's going great.
Kat suggests they go off and buy more stuff, and Sam reminds her that they have no money. But Kat says not to worry about it, as they can go to the magic ATM. Dice rolls by, and the two girls task him with watching the kids they're supposed to be babysitting. He takes off his helmet, revealing his own sheared hair is glued to the top, and he offers the kids the chance to fondle his dismembered follicles. After this, the opening titles play, and it's actually a brand new title sequence. This is another reminder of what I was constantly hammering home in the first Sam and Kat video, that all the episodes from here on out are a little more than the end of season 1, but a little less than the second season. After this, we cut to the inside of a small gas station, where a foreign man behind the counter is taking selfies with a front-facing Flash. Interestingly, I think front-facing Flash didn't come out in phones until 2015, a year after this. Anyway, Sam and Kat come in and Kat reveals her secret. She knows a special song which goes along to the music of Take Me Out to the Ball Game, but is bastardized with different lyrics. A few days ago, she decided to try and press the buttons on the ATM like they were keyboard notes, and when the first two lines of the chorus were over, a bunch of money came out. Sam pulls Kat to the side and tells her that she can't tell anyone about this because this is probably not legal. But she says that they shouldn't necessarily give the money back. While they try and think of what is the morally right thing to do, they both run off to the mall to spend a bunch of cash. Later, Dice comes into the apartment and finds the girls unloading groceries. Sam has bought fresh, non-expired meat, an uncommon treat for the household apparently, and meanwhile, Ariana Grande is a furry. No, but she's bought like a tail so she can roleplay that she, has a tail. So Dice has a convoluted story that's baked in the show's lore that I've detected you don't care about, but I'm gonna tell you anyways. Dice's aunt, who's brought up like every other episode, is flying to Japan later that week, and she's taking her monkey with her. So Dice needs Sam and Kat to go to an animal hospital to pick up some monkey pills to help him sleep on the plane. Dice can't go himself, and initially won't say why, although he eventually admits he's in a spelling bee. I'm just grateful he isn't stripping again. It turns out that animal hospital is right by the gas station where the magic ATM is, and Kat wants to go steal more money, borrow more money. Sam is against this, as she's worried if they keep pushing their luck, they'll get in trouble, and she doesn't want to end up back in juvie. In quite a twist on their respective characters, Kat puts on a smooth voice and attempts to convince Sam that stealing money is actually cool and an awesome thing to do, reminding her that money can be used to buy tickets to the Lakers, violent video games, and fried chicken. Sam eventually cracks. So the next day, they go into the gas station, they drop the monkey pills, the pills get stepped on, and they try and collect him back up, and then Kat does the trick one last time. Once this happens, the shop owner rushes over as he's finally caught the person taking money from the ATM. Cops suddenly appear and arrest Kat on the spot. A police officer, played by Scott Bios, says Kat is going to juvie, and Sam, worried she'll never survive on the inside alone, alone, spills slushy down Scott Baio's pants, so she'll go with her. During a transition, we see a quick Nozu cameo from Victorious, and then Scott Baio ends up tailing down a speeding car, which turns out to be stolen. Scott Baio asks the girls what's in their bag, and they say it's medicine for a monkey, so he'll sleep on his way to Japan. He says they should never lie to an officer, and he eats the crushed sleeping pills, believing that they're candy. He soon passes out mid-car chase. Sam crawls into the front seat because there's no divider, #plothole, and she takes control of the cruiser, but refuses to give up the chase of the stolen car, #snitch. The suspect ditches the stolen car and runs, and Sam goes after him, catches him, and beats the shit out of him off screen. Later, the police gather everything in the apartment bought with the shady cash, and the officers say that the girl stole over $4,000 and they'll have to pay all of it back. Just then, the officers get some news. The culprit Sam apprehended and beat to non-consciousness is wanted in 3 states, and the reward for bringing him in is $5,000. The girls celebrate.
We learned nothing!
Yeah!
Kat begins singing her bastardized version of Take Me Out to the Ball Game with different lyrics, and everyone in the room but Sam knows it. Even Dice and Herb run in to join with the chorus. Dice seems to have won the spelling bee.
And we won't pay for this song 'cause it's public domain.
The end. Season 1, episode 22 is titled Lumpacious, and that's actually a subtle in-joke. You see, they named this episode after the lump in my neck I found after watching these shows for 2 years straight. Okay, so at the start of this one, Sam and Kat are at Bots, the robot restaurant, babysitting some kid and trying to teach him vocabulary. The kid's brother, Jepsen, is coming to pick him up, and this is a problem because everyone hates him because he is a douchebag. Jepsen shows up and yells boo in Kat's ear, and she passes out because she has a disorder that causes her to faint when surprised, which comes up often but is rarely relevant to the plot. So Jepsen is a total douche like we've said, and he acts like a total douche, and trying to insult and one-up him, his little brother calls him Lumpacious. Jepsen mocks him because Lumpacious isn't even a real word. Sam decides to stand up for the boy and makes it a bet. Lumpacious is a word, and if the girls can prove it in 1 week, then Jepsen has to stand outside in a bikini for an hour. I remember this episode of Zoe 101. Jepsen counters this and says if they lose, then prepare yourselves. If Sam and Kat lose the bet, then they have to go to Jepsen's gym after his morning workout routine, where he will squeeze the sweat out of all of his gym clothes into a bowl, and Sam and Kat will have to drink his sweat. The only good part about late-stage Sam and Kat is by the time they've spent 1 billion years setting up the plot in the pre-title sequence, the episode is like a quarter of the way done. So after the title sequence, the girls frantically search everywhere to find Lumpacious somewhere in the human culture, and established mega pop star Ariana Grande says out loud,
Sam, I can't drink a boy's sweat from a bowl.
Dice comes in with a big dictionary and gets hit in the head by a small dictionary thrown by Sam. The girls run off with the big dictionary and close the door behind them, and when Dice comes in and says his nose is bleeding, Kat says not to get it on the carpet. So Sam can't find Lumpacious in the Oxnard English dictionary, and Dice says this is the biggest, most important dictionary in the world. If it's not in there, it doesn't exist. Fun fact, Lumpacious does make one appearance in popular culture before this episode aired, and that is in the Victorious finale, where it is listed as Beck's mood in one of his final on-screen tweets. Sam says there's only one option left. They must go to Oxnard.
Me too. No.
So they stock footage their way to Oxnard, where they meet a woman at the front desk. You'll notice they use pencils at the Oxnard Dictionary headquarters. I can only imagine this is due to the Frindle fiasco of 1996. Kat says she's scheduled a meeting there for Kat Valentine and Sam Pouquet. Sam insists that it's Puckett, but the woman at the front desk says it's written down as Pouquet. So you may have noticed that Sam and Kat is built pretty heavily on easy-to-miss references to legacy sitcoms of decades past. There was an episode that's an extended Laverne and Shirley homage. There was a story with Scott Baio from Happy Days. Then there's the next episode, which is a very direct Happy Days parody. Even the character Goomer The only saving grace of this series, who has yet to show up in this run of episodes, is an extended reference to Gomer Pyle from the Andy Griffith Show and Gomer Pyle USMC. Anyways, so in that last scene, they did a joke that was a subtle, underhanded reference to a British sitcom I loved as a kid called Keeping Up Appearances. Keeping Up Appearances is about a stuffy, middle-aged woman named Hyacinth, who at some point married a very simple man named Richard Bucket. So her married name is Hyacinth Bucket. This isn't fitting of a noble woman who thinks so highly of herself, so sometime before the events of the series, she's apparently decided that it's actually pronounced bouquet.
It's very kind of you to invite us, Mrs. Bucket.
It's bouquet, Vicar.
It's bouquet is the character's catchphrase, and it comes up quite a lot by the show's design. The best part is that on very rare occasions, Hyacinth will slip up and accidentally say bucket herself.
You'll pay for this, Richard Bucket. Okay.
So you see, in this Sam and Cat scene, it's that same joke, but backwards.
What was the name again, please?
Bouquet.
Oh, yes, we have a bucket.
Pronounced bouquet, dear.
Cat Valentine and Samantha Bouquet?
It's Puckett.
My screen says Bouquet.
Anyways, it was fun talking about a good sitcom for 60 seconds. Now back to the drink sweat out of a bowl episode. So the girls witness a man being thrown out of the Oxnard Word Council and sentenced to the basement for submitting a word that the council did not approve of. They soon enter, with the British sitcom reference being reiterated.
She's Sam Bouquet.
Puckett.
The girls pitch the word and the council seems impressed, asking them to present evidence. The girls try to whittle down what good evidence would be, and eventually everyone agrees that if the girls can get a famous person to say the word, lumbaceous will be good enough for the Nards of Ox. Later, at Bots, Cat vents that their mission is impossible, but Sam reminds her that they live in Los Angeles. They're surrounded by famous people. According to her, they even saw David Schwimmer once at a gas station. Although, Sam must be confused about this, because as we all know, David Schwimmer died in May 2010. Jebsen jogs into the restaurant rather proud and squeezes some early access sweat into Cat's drink. In response to this, Sam breaks Jebsen's pinky, and he leaves, still confident that lumbaceous will never be a word. Cat suddenly remembers that one of the elderly people Nona lives with actually is very famous, and they rush off to meet him. The famous person is a pilot named Stank, who stopped a plane from crashing in the 1980s and was rewarded with merchandise and even his own Stank-themed cereal. But there's a problem. The plane's landing was so rough that it caused him to bite through his tongue. So Stank has been functionally mute for 3 decades. Stank reveals he still carries that tongue with him in a jar. The girls run off and Nona gives him a lollipop before he realizes what just happened. Give this man an Oscar, he is the highlight of the episode. Light on morale, and probably money too, Sam and Cat go somewhere we haven't seen since the pilot. In-N-Out Burger. Sam is drinking her 10th smoothie, fearing nothing will taste good after she is forced to drink boy sweat, until she looks over and sees who is in the drive-thru line. Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey. Cat begins screaming for Chris while attempting to jump at his car, and his 2 bodyguards block the way. This distracts everyone long enough that Sam is able to sneak into the restaurant, jump through the driver's side window, and crawl into the back seat, desperate for the Christie crunch.
Let me be clear on this. I do not like anyone who is lumbaceous.
This is enough for the Word Council, who declare lumbaceous is a word. The girls celebrate that they don't have to drink boy sweat, and the council debates on if drinking sweat is gross. The oldest white man there says that he likes it. So the douchebag has to wear a bikini, and his brother entices a biker gang to beat the shit out of him. End of episode. So, as you likely know by now, Sam and Cat was on TV after I stopped watching Nickelodeon, and thus a lot of context from the time is kind of lost on me as I work on this project. Because of this, I'm recording a little amendum to that episode, just filling you in on something which is actually kind of interesting. So the day that this episode premiered, Nickelodeon ran a special cross-franchise event called gotta spot it? With the main gimmick being that for each of the 3 teen sitcoms airing that night, there would be some recurring Easter egg for the audience to watch out for. For instance, in The Thundermans, props and characters would sporadically appear upside down. In The Haunted Hathaways, random costume accessories would sometimes appear on characters. And in Sam and Cat, a jester character played by Alan Weiserman would randomly show up throughout the episode. As far as I can tell, his cameos are as follows. 11 seconds in during the stock footage of Venice Beach. 1 minute in dancing on a table at Bots while shrunken down. 2 minutes in as a physical extra in the background of the same scene. 4 minutes and 14 seconds in on a pear pad in the background. During the opening sequence at 6 minutes and 34 seconds. 7 minutes and 44 seconds in as Cat slams the door on an injured Dice. 10 minutes in on a TV screen at Oxnard HQ. 12 minutes in the exact same place. Shrunken down on the desk at Oxnard at 13 minutes 5 seconds. During the transition at 13 minutes 19 seconds. Inside the blue robot's visor at 13 minutes 22 seconds. 17 minutes in as a framed photo at Elderly Acres. 18 minutes in at Inside Out Burger as an extra. 20 minutes in dancing in the background of the Chris Christie lookalike. And finally, peeking outside of a bush 22 minutes in. This character has the behind the scenes name of Weirdo, and his existence kind of begs a lot of questions. The most important one being, what is he? Is he God? Is he the devil? Is he a guardian angel like in iCarly? Is he a metahuman like in Henry Danger? Or is he a really lazy Waldo knockoff made by people fulfilling a corporate prompt in the least creative way possible? Either way, he's going on the list, I guess. More generally, I think the biggest thing this character illustrates is my constantly waning attention span with this show. If it wasn't for a comment left by Nick Declieu on Patreon, none of this would have been included, because I literally did not notice a single one of these cameos watching that episode without context. When I watch Sam and Cat, I'm not happy, I'm not angry, I'm in a catatonic state where I just stare at the screen and try not to think about the endless stream of nonsense that the show is dedicated to throwing into my face. Well, except for maybe this next one. This next one gives you a lot of things to react to. Season 1, episode 23 is called full title #The Killer Tuna Jump, #Freddy, #Jade, #Robbie, and you'll never guess who shows up in this one. Also, it turns out that this is Sam and Cat's only double-length episode, and throughout this miniseries so far, we've been consistently counting double episodes as one long episode, not 2 separate episodes. So in my last video, when I said we have 15 episodes to review today, I was wrong. We only have 14. Sorry about that. So at the start of the episode, Sam is loudly mixing sauces into a stock pot as Cat tries to study over the noise. Sam explains she's mixing sauces of all kinds and varieties to make the perfect sauce that will go well on any food. Cat tries the perfect sauce and blurps it up all over Sam's shirt. At this moment, Dice runs in and apologizes for not knocking, but he has a situation that only the girls can fix. We flash back to earlier and see a poker game being played by a variety of Sam and Cat lore characters. Tandy, the red robot, one of the spear fishermen, the egg kid from the texting episode, and Randy. I don't remember who he is, and there's an extra kid. I've got nothing. So the spear fisherman says he's betting all his tuna on his cards, and through a stroke of luck, Dice ends up winning the game. We cut back to the present, where it's revealed that the spear fisherman was not being metaphorical. Dice has literally won 1,200 pounds of live tuna, but not regular tuna. Kansas Razorback tuna, a toxic variant that isn't edible and can eat anything, even people. Sam says once she changes her shirt, she'll help Dice figure this all out, but Kat says she can't come because she's meeting a friend to work on a project for school. Just as she starts to explain further, there's a ring at the door, and as Dice opens it, we see Jade from Victorious. Kat freaks out and runs out the front door, trying to body block Jade from coming inside. Jade asks Kat if she forgot to take her, quote, special vitamins, and Kat tells Jade not to move as she goes back inside. Jade ignores these instructions. Kat explains to Dice that Jade West is the second scariest woman she's ever met. Sam is the first, and she's gone through considerable effort to make sure they never meet each other. If they ever do, Kat fears they would kill each other. Sam prepares to go out the front door, and to stop her, Kat wipes Sam's special sauce over her shirt a second time. Sam asks Kat if she forgot to take her, quote, special vitamins again. As Kat tries to explain, Jade comes in through the back entrance, and Kat screams from shock and passes out. Hours later, and after the title sequence, Kat wakes up to the sound of Jade and Sam screaming at each other from the bedroom, and she thinks they must be killing each other, which I imagine was also the presumption that you made at that description. Instead, we find out the two are playing a Wii Motion style game where they hit the ground with baseball bats. Kat admits her anxieties that because they're both antisocial misfits filled with rage, she was worried that they would murder each other, which Sam and Jade find hilarious as they get along fine. Jade and Sam do a little mildly flirty banter, decide that Kat should just do Psychowitz's assignment on her own, and they rush off to the wharf to see Dice's tuna. At the wharf, Dice has just discovered that it's costing him over $100 a day just to keep the tuna in the 25-feet tank, and he begrudgingly pays the money out to the callous workers. Sam and Jade arrive on the motorcycle, and Kat arrives moments later, having run on foot behind the girls. The mean team study the fish, which are very piranha-like, and Sam throws in a sandwich to show how fast they eat everything in their path. Dice says he's going to lose a lot of money, but Sam has an idea. They will set up ramps on either end of the tank, sell tickets to see a live stunt for the ages, and then Sam will jump the tuna. So this is another reference to sitcoms of days of old. You see, back in the day, there was this old sitcom called Happy Days, which originated the character of the Fonz. The Fonz was known for getting up to a lot of antics and being good at a lot of things. So one day, while the character was water skiing on vacation, he was dared by a group of SoCal hooligans to jump shark-infested waters. He did, and today, jump the shark remains a common term for when a TV show does something so ridiculous or extra that it signifies the golden era coming to an end. Someone told me about this once, I can't remember who. So the entire joke of this episode is that Sam is going to jump the tuna while the show is going to jump the shark. To the extent that most associate Sam and Kat with being a weird legacy crossover show, and this episode is going to prove itself to be the weirdest and the most legacy crossover-y. The episode is also heavily a parody of the audience's expectations, and this episode is going to get way more dramatic and character-driven than normal, and I certainly think that the rest of the show is going to feel a little less intense following this adventure, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So there's a running joke in this scene that Sam and Jade are such a natural pairing that Kat is trying desperately to overcompensate for the fact that she has nothing to say or do, with even the workers at the dock making fun of her for embarrassing herself constantly. Kat says that Sam jumping the tuna is way too dangerous, so they decide to get a local daredevil named the Dirty Skipper to do it in her place. Sam and Jade ride off on the motorcycle, leaving Kat breathing in their toxic fumes. Later, at Bots, Jade tells Sam about how she loves popping pimples, and Sam plays a trick on the Red Robot where she confuses him by requesting gibberish. This causes the Red Robot to short out, killing him.
Thank you for killing my friend.
Kat enters Bots with Dice and Nona and confronts them for constantly hanging out without inviting her, specifically calling them out for going to the movies the night before. The girls say it was a horror movie and Kat wouldn't have had fun, but she's still upset. After sitting with Dice and Nona, Kat vents about her frustration.
Sam stole Jade from me. Oh, come on. I wouldn't say she stole Jade.
Well, I would.
In the greater context of Kat's cross-franchise story arc, her motivations make some sense here. You'll remember that in Victorious Season 1, Kat and Jade weren't really friends. They were just peers in the same friend group. It wasn't until Jade and Beck broke up in Season 3 that Kat made the outward attempt to hang out with Jade outside of school, with it clearly being something she had to invest patience and effort into. So you could imagine that it's frustrating to see Jade and Sam become instant besties after knowing each other for just a few days, especially as this also can be compounded with her equally complex relationship with Sam. Here's my favorite fart noises I can make with my mouth. Nona says where she's from, when someone steals your friend, you steal one of theirs, and Kat likes this idea. So later, as Sam showers before a date with Jade, Kat steals Sam's phone and finds the contact information for one Freddie Benson. We cut to the iCarly hallway set, perfectly preserved, where Freddie gets a call from Sam's cell phone. He picks up, not knowing if it's butt dial or booty call, before he finds out it's Kat. Freddie's mom comes out into the hallway and asks if he's been staring at Carly's door again.
She is in Italy, and she will never love you.
Kat tells Freddie that Sam has been run over by a sports utility van, that she's in dire condition, and he needs to come to LA right away. The next day, Freddie comes in asking where Sam is and what her condition is. Kat blows these questions off and attempts to flirt with Freddie.
Buttocks don't offend me.
Oh.
You want to hang out with me today?
There's this really weird moment where Freddie starts speaking Spanish out of the blue. Now, this was a running joke on iCarly, starting with season 2, I believe. Freddie would just start randomly saying phrases in Spanish. I never brought it up because it was never funny or relevant. But in this scene, when he does it, Kat speaks Spanish back to him, and for a very quick moment, Freddie acts like this is the most erotic thing a woman has ever done to him, and he briefly forgets about Sam and agrees to go do whatever Kat wants. So later, Jade and Sam go to Bots, but find all the tables are taken. Jade can't put up with this, so she sits at a table of boys and gives them all the eyes, until they run away in fear. Sam eventually looks at her regular booth and sees Kat laughing loudly as Freddie sits confused as he hasn't said anything. Freddie is ecstatic to finally see Sam, but she is extremely hurt seeing him out with Kat, and Kat cuts him short of explaining the misunderstanding. Kat announces they have to go as she's taking Freddie on a tour of Los Angeles freeways. Jade says that when she has friends visit LA, she likes to take them on a tour of places where famous people have died, or will die someday. Kat and Freddie rush out the door, and Sam says she can't believe Kat.
For some reason, she's always loved freeways.
Sam wishes she could get even, and Jade knows just the way. She pulls out a photo of Robbie Shapiro and says that Kat has had a crush on him for a long time.
Him? He's sort of a him.
Okay, so, random tangent that's maybe mildly offensive to even bring up. Since I did my 13-hour dissertation on the Victorious TV show, I've become kind of submerged in the show's various community discourse and fan theories, both things that were prevalent in the original fandom and in the more recent resurgence of the 2020s. And there's one fan theory that gets brought up to me at least once a month that I just can't escape from. That being that Robbie Shapiro is actually a transgender man. The theory stems from various clues, like how Robbie was in the women's prison when they were all arrested in Yerba. In the season 4 episode where the boys and girls compete with each other, Robbie has to go out of his way to remind everyone that he should be on the boys' team. And in one of the web-exclusive skits, Rex mentions Robbie having a bat mitzvah, implying he didn't identify as a boy when he turned 13. I find this theory really funny because basically, to buy into it, you have to believe two things. 1, Robbie is transgender. 2, not only is every institution in the Victorious Universe outwardly bigoted, every single person that Robbie knows hates him so much that they go out of their way to ridicule him for being trans.
He's sort of a him.
It's just this interesting crossover where obviously the joke with this character was supposed to be that everyone thinks so little of him that they assign him effeminate traits. But now the franchise has an active following with a specific demographic that feels solidarity with anyone facing that kind of ridicule. This next scene is unreasonably intense, by the way. So Kat brings Freddy home to the apartment where he attempts to explain why he doesn't say 1 in the iCarly web intro. But before he can go further, she is distracted by a great injustice. The sound of Robbie Shapiro singing the song You're Swell to Sam. In case you forgot, You're Swell is the love song Robbie wrote to Kat in the season 3 finale. So him singing it to another person is extremely upsetting to Kat. It's a song that not only represents their relationship, but also a world of missed opportunity for both of them. So here's the new situation. Sam's mad at Kat for inviting Freddy over. Kat is mad at Sam for inviting Robbie over. Robbie is mad at Kat for going around dating another boy when their story arc never got a resolution. Freddy has no idea what the fuck is going on.
Robbie is in love with me.
So, Freddy's in love with me.
Now, wait a second.
If you're so in love with Sam, then why have you been running around Los Angeles fadoodling with Kat?
I haven't fadoodled with Kat.
You could have if you wanted to.
Robbie is enraged by this and punches Freddy in the gut. But Freddy is more yoked than an egg at Venice Beach, and it has no effect. Kat says Sam is a terrible friend for stealing Jade. Sam says Kat is a worse friend for going on a date with the only man Sam has ever loved.
What now?
Sam sheepishly claims she only said that to win the argument. Freddy explains to Robbie that they're just being used. Sam and Kat don't care about either of them, and this is just a chess match in their personal lives. Robbie is ecstatic, for he is so used to being ignored that he is grateful to even be included as a pawn in the story of love. Robbie actually says this. He says the phrase pawn in the story of love, which seems to imply that Sam and Kat are also a potential couple in this scene. Suddenly Dice comes in and Kat starts yelling at him because he's always running in with a new problem for them to solve. Dice says that he does have a problem because he sold 200 tickets for a stunt show where the dirty skipper jumps over a big pot of fish he can't get rid of, and now the dirty skipper says it's too dangerous and he won't do it. But Dice doesn't have to worry because Sam says the thing.
I'm gonna jump the tuna.
Kat reminds Sam that she promised not to jump the tuna, and Sam says Kat doesn't care about her, as she flirted with her ex right in front of her face. Kat says Sam did the same, and Sam responds by kissing Robbie full on the mouth.
That was some tasty Robbie.
Then Robbie makes this face. Dice is here and is like 12. This is weird. Kat runs off to her room and Sam formally agrees to jump the tuna. Robbie pulls out his phone and asks if Sam will please say that was some tasty Robbie a second time. Jade suddenly comes in and asks what she missed, as Freddy's mom calls him to ask about something he said earlier, as it's implied that she wiretapped him at some point. Later on, Sam and Kat are still fighting when Dice brings over a waiver so he can't be sued if Sam is injured or dies. Kat has had enough and says Sam will not be jumping the tuna, as it's too dangerous. Sam says it's too late because someone has to jump the tuna, and so Kat shoves Sam into a closet, saying she will be the one to do it. She nails the closet shut and begins her righteous switcheroo. Okay, so I actually really like this next running joke. At the event, Robbie and Freddy run up to Jade, and Robbie announces that they've been hanging out all day. Robbie says they've been having a great time and points out if you combine their names, it's Robbie, implying the audience should ship them after this episode. Robbie goes to buy tickets, and Freddy says to Jade,
Help me!
At the apartment, Kat has stolen Sam's clothing and helmet so she can be the one to jump the tuna. Sam says they have different body types, so Kat grabs 2 oranges and stuffs them down the front of her shirt and into her bra. Do you think if I apply for witness protection, I'll be able to stop watching these shows? So Robbie and Freddy can't get tickets because the show is sold out, but they're told they can watch if they stand in the camera lift. Freddy says he doesn't even want to watch because he still has feelings for Sam and he's worried about her. Sam gets tired of being stuck in the closet and punches a hole through it. Nona ends up sitting next to Jade and tries to make conversation about a jazz musician she once dated, but Jade walks away. Nona says a meme phrase to a child.
You like jazz?
Kat shows up and drives really badly. While Robbie keeps flirting with Freddy, Sam meticulously breaks the rest of the door down before leaving for a reason I can't figure out. Someone dressed like Billy Shears gives a drum roll and it's time for Kat to jump the tuna. But Sam shows up and the motorcycle slips and hits the camera lift, and Robbie and Freddy both fall into the death pit. The credits roll, that's the end of the episode and both of their romance arcs. But no, for real. Sam and Kat make up and Jade yells that someone needs to rescue Frobby.
Please don't call it that!
Sam jumps in to rescue her boo, and after that it's questioned who is going to save Robbie. No one is interested in doing this except Kat, who knocks herself out trying. So no one is going to jump the tuna, but the audience is still satisfied because at least someone got hurt. People begin to leave, still ignoring Robbie being eaten alive, and the spear fisherman and Jade exchange brief banter before she declines to reciprocate a fist bump. Later, at the hospital, Kat says Freddy isn't her type because he's too tech nerdy, and Sam says Robbie isn't her cut of beef either. We cut to 2 hospital beds, where we see both men are not in great condition, with Freddy being unable to talk. Sam says when Freddy is healed up and can talk and chew again, she'd like it if they went out and got some dinner and had some fun. And Robbie tells Kat that when he's out of there, he'd like to take her out. Just the 2 of them. As the girls leave, Robbie says he knows just what will cheer Freddy up, as he takes out his guitar and begins playing Freddy the same love ballad he has previously sung to Kat and Sam, all while Freddy screams barely tangible yells of disgust. The moral of the story is, in LA, everyone is bi and swinging. Okay, so I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but this episode was actually the only one that I saw back in 2014. And even then, I don't even really think I finished it. As you'll recall, I was big into the Sam and Freddy ship on iCarly, and because Sam and Freddy were left on an open note, seeing a revival of sorts tackle that felt like something worth checking out. Now, I didn't see all of the episode. I'd say I probably saw about a quarter of it, but I do remember just being mystified by the direction in this one. So what they did in this episode is take 2 ships from 2 different shows that both had mishandled conclusions and a lack of resolution, and they were like, let's make an episode that makes no one happy, which is very typical with the standard of these shows actively mocking people who were invested in the show. But it feels even more insulting here, where practically everyone who is really into these romantic pairings weren't watching this show and probably only came back by word of mouth for this one episode, only to find out that it was like the same shit. As an adult, I do think it's funny that the joke of this episode is that almost every possible pairing in this polycule is seriously posed in episode as a romantic possibility. It is a little bit funny that so much of this episode is about how Robbie very clearly has a crush on Freddy. It's actually probably the most funny joke in the series so far that hasn't come out of Goomer's mouth. Overall, I was actually shocked by this episode, rewatching it properly. Not only because so many scenes were outright weird and inappropriate for the target demographic, but also because if you delete those moments, this is the best episode of Sam and Kat. In fact, and I want this to be something you're thinking about going forwards, given that Sam and Kat's production fell apart at a very awkward point in the season, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't hold this episode and make it the show's finale. I'm sure there will be continuity in future episodes that makes this idea impractical, but this episode does carry a lot of ideas that you would want a Sam and Kat finale to have. It has the origin show legacy characters, it has the drama, the humor, but more importantly, it actually does supply resolution that the original source material didn't. In the episode, Robbie and Kat flat out say that they're in love with each other to each other's faces, and Sam and Freddie come very close to doing the same. About as close as they're emotionally capable of, honestly. And at the end of the episode, all four seem to recognize that their jealousy is probably indicative that they need to give their respective pairings a second shot. I honestly think Sam and Kat should have leaned into this crossover element more often than it did. This episode is like eating some really unhealthy junk food that's not good for you. It's tacky and cheap and has some real questionable ingredients, but it's fun. Any other episode of Sam and Kat is like eating marmalade mixed with uncooked rice. And much like the Psychowitz episode didn't find a use for him, this episode forgets to find anything to do with Jade. She's funny, she's charismatic, she steals every scene, and then she sits in the back of the room. And at the end of the day, this episode does jump the shark and does mark the show's peak because it rushes through too many cameo concepts that otherwise could have been at least 2 or 3 better standalone episodes. So at the start of the episode, Kat comes home to the apartment to see Sam throwing glass cups into the air as they shatter on the floor. Sam explains she's trying to teach herself how to juggle, and knives haven't worked out so well. Kat says she was just shopping at the mall and apologizes for leaving Sam to babysit alone. Sam apparently isn't aware that she is babysitting until she remembers that she left the children alone to have a battle. Giant scissors versus hedge clippers. The kids have ruined their haircuts, but luckily the rest of them seem intact. Kat says that she was out shopping for a special gift for Sam, but that she can't see it until Yay Day. She goes on to explain that this is a special holiday that she made up. By her logic, the best part of Christmas is gifts, and the best part of birthdays are gifts. But both holidays are bogged down by added sentimental meaning. Yay Day is the most logical, condensed model of the archetype. The holiday celebrates getting cool gifts and isn't about anything else in the slightest. Okay, here's the thing about fake holidays. I think if you're going to make one up, you should be forced to pick a specific date. Festivus is December 23rd, First Contact Day is April the 5th, Halloween is May the 1st, Possum Day is October 18th, Life Day is the 3rd Thursday in November. Yay Day is Saturday. That's all they say in the episode. It's Saturday. This episode aired on January the 20th, which was a Monday, so do I celebrate this on January the 17th or January the 24th? Once I have to put this much thought into celebrating a gag holiday, it stops being fun. After the title sequence, we see Kat on Yay Day Eve decking out the apartment in various Yay decorations. As this happens, we get our first sighting of Goomer in this batch of episodes, as he and Dice enter with the intention to stay the night and celebrate the holiday the next morning. Dice asks for a drink of coffee, and Kat says no. Sam wakes up to find that Kat has covered her in balloons, and says that she doesn't want to celebrate Yay Day. Goomer and Dice convince her to go through with it, and Sam eventually says she'll go along and get presents for everyone except for Kat, because Kat is a snooper. The last time Sam got Kat a present, Kat opened it early, and so Sam has sworn off giving her gifts. Kat says she's moved past having that issue ever since her doctor prescribed her special vitamins. And as she frantically explains this, she begins to unwrap Goomer's Yay Day gift. But Kat resists and Sam relents, and says she'll buy everyone presents, but only if Kat promises not to snoop. Later, Dice, Nona, and Goomer play karaoke, singing a PZB song in spite of his recent appearance on Alex Jones. Dice asks Nona where she learned to rap like that, and she says that in the 80s, she spent a crazy weekend in Vegas with the Sugar Hill Gang. This is a continuation of a kinda weird running joke from a few episodes ago, where Nona will occasionally list off the name of a guy she's dated or hooked up with, and then she gets cut off. But if you Google the names, they're all actual famous black guys from the 70s and 80s.
You know, the first throbbing moon I ever saw was back in 1962 when I was dating Nipsey Russell.
I was dating a professional basketball player named Bob McAdoo.
Yeah, where'd you learn to rap like that?
Well, back in the 80s, I spent a crazy weekend in Reno with the Sugar Hill Gang.
So take that information as you will. Kat joins the group and Dice asks for a drink again, and Kat again says no. She then presents the trio a book she's written titled A Hard Ye's Night. This is the story she's invented to give the holiday lore, independent from reality that she's basically just made up. Sam comes in with gifts for everyone but Nona, and Kat breaks from this thought, begging to know what she got. Everyone talks Kat down, and Goomer begins crying, explaining,
I can't read!
You can't read?
Nah, I can. I was just messing with all y'all.
That night, while Sam sleeps in bed with her food, Kat sneaks out to the living room and takes the gift Sam had left for her, discovering Sam has given her the gift of mouthwash, specifically for those with horrible breath. And as a bonus, foot wash, for much the same, except with feet. The next morning, Dice asks Sam if there's any orange juice, and Sam says no. Dice begs for a drink of any kind, and Sam insists they have nothing, while everyone else mocks him for being so thirsty. Nona says that when she was young, thirsty kids on a hot day would just find a damp rock and lick the underside of it. Eventually, Kat walks out, being very passive-aggressive, and asks for some orange juice, to which Sam says there is some in the fridge. Kat says she'll let the others open their gifts alone, as she is now a Yay-Day Scrooge. But everyone begs for her to join in. Still feeling very angry, Kat takes the gift that she had intended for Sam and runs to the bedroom, as Sam quickly stops Dice from getting a sip of orange juice. Kat decides not to give Sam the expensive jacket she bought and suddenly sees Herb at the window. Herb says that he just bought a new boat and that he'd like to park it in the girl's garage. Kat says they don't have a garage, and Herb says that he just found a dirty, stained pillow in the street. Kat offers to trade the expensive jacket for the pillow, but Herb says he has a lot of expensive jackets and a lot of expensive things, so this would be meaningless. But Kat talks him into it and he heads back to his condo.
My life's going great.
Good for you. So Kat does the switch and watches Sam open the pillow. Kat then passive-aggressively opens Sam's gift, but Sam realizes she made a mistake labeling them, and that it is actually the gift for Goomer. Sam explains that she called Goomer's mom, and this was the gift that she recommended. It turns out that this mouthwash is Goomer's favorite, but is only available in Australia, reminding us of Goomer's origin as the adopted son of a well-traveled Frenchman. I guess. Probably not. They probably didn't put that much thought into it. I actually just realized as I'm recording this, I don't know how Sam imported that from Australia if she decided she was doing this 24 hours ago. Goomer is ecstatic to see that she even got him the foot one as well. It turns out that Sam's gift to Kat is actually Mr. Roper, a new jump rope that lights up and plays music. Along with this gift, there is a note. I hate most people, but it's you I like. Sam is visibly distant about the tonal difference between their two Yay-Day gifts, and quietly leaves the apartment, while Goomer gargles the red wash until it's pointed out that that is the foot wash, and he spits it all over his bare foot. Kat and Sam meet up, where Sam shares an honest dissertation on her trauma. She says that she's never had a great gift given to her before, which is bullshit because there's no way that Carly gave bad gifts. But anyways, yeah, so she says she's never had a great gift given to her before, and she was hoping if someone got her a great gift, it would show her the meaning of gift giving. And she shares a story about what living with her mom was like back in Seattle, When Sam turned 9, Sam's mother gave her a shovel and a bowl of meatballs for her birthday. Sam, in a youthful out-of-character moment, did not eat the meatballs, instead planting them in the ground with the shovel, thinking that a meatball tree would grow. She notes that it never did and begins crying. This is the closest that Sam Puckett has come to self-actualization in 7 years. Kat comes clean about snooping and apologizes for giving Sam a bad gift. Sam apologizes for pushing Kat off the bench and pushes Kat off the bench. In the credits sequence, Dice spots a damp rock outside the apartment and decides to give in to Nona's advice and licks it. To his surprise, it is indeed refreshing. I'm glad we spent the whole episode building up to that. Season 1, episode 25 is titled #Brain Crush, and we start off with Nona, Dice, Sam, and Kat arriving at Bots, which has been rented out for a birthday party for a kid named Otis. The Red Robot comes over to kick them out as it is an exclusive event, but the girls explain that they babysit Otis sometimes, and they were invited to the party. Sam casually insults the machine, as she often does, but this time it responds by predicting the apocalypse for the second time in the series run.
I may be a machine, but I will live forever, unlike you humans who will one day all be dead. Enjoy the party!
This is actually a thematically relevant start to the story. You remember in the Victorious video game when Pear Pads being released caused all of the characters in the game to become mindless zombies? Well, this episode is a direct adaptation of that extremely not played out idea. We find out that no one at the party is being very attentive, and this is because they're all glued to their phones. And more specifically, a new and exhilarating app, Brain Crush. A juggler hired by the party enters, and everyone notices that he is the most famous juggler in the world or something. And he begins juggling 3 wigs which are lit on fire. But no one cares because they're on their phones. When the cake comes out, all the kids are still not interested. They're on their phones. So, because no one else wants the cake, Sam comes over and takes 2 fistfuls and walks off screen to husk into a poorly lit corner and lick her hands clean in darkness and shame, I presume. After the title sequence, we see Sam putting the door back together after kicking it down the night before because she couldn't find her keys. Kat comes out and reminds Sam that she's currently preparing for a one-woman theater show that she's doing the following night, titled Abraham Lincoln, an alternate universe monologue about Abraham Lincoln, except he's a babe. Sam doesn't want to go, but Kat says that if she does, Kat will pop the pimple on Sam's back. Sam agrees, as it has been a problem. So you can go ahead and put this in, I guess. I wrote this in the script, and it made me so sick to my stomach that I deleted it, but I think I should say it because I'm tired of not talking about the weird stuff in this show. Sam and Kat is such a weird show to sit through and watch because it exists perfectly in between 2 of the worst moments in both the NSU and the Grande extended celebrity fandom. And those 2 moments are Ariana Grande sticking her foot in her mouth on the slap.com and Frankie Grande getting puss from a giant pimple just splattered all over his face like something that would get me demonetized. And because this show is in between those 2 moments perfectly, the show is just filled with all the feet shit, but it's also got all this like pimple stuff that you don't even think about that is mainly like the Henry Danger era. So you get the worst of both worlds, and it gives me nightmares. Kat says that she's heading to Elderly Acres as Nona can help her finish her costume and wash her laundry. Sam says,
"Won't take much soap to wash this."
Which isn't appropriate, and Sam suddenly realizes Nona is apparently offering to do their laundry for free. Moments later, she emerges with several trash bags filled with clothing, as we learn that she hasn't done any laundry since the iCarly finale. This brings into question many things. For instance, does Sam just buy new clothes every week? Is that where their babysitting income is going? Did Sam bring any of her clothes from Seattle? Is she just spending a fortune on her wardrobe every single fiscal year? However, Sam and Kat's conversation is interrupted by Dice, who has now become a brain crush zombie. He hasn't slept, fails to respond to anything around him, and is soaking wet because he accidentally walked through a car wash a la Fred. Now, an odd thing worth pointing out, in this episode, Brain Crush is described as a parody of Candy Crush, with the only difference being that you match pictures of brains instead of candy. But the tie-in video game released on Nick.com and by association the visuals of the game which appear in this episode depict imagery relating to the show itself, with shapes including the logo ampersand, the pineapple the girls hide their money in, Sam's chicken leg, and of course, a sock. You know, cause like feet and shit. So Kat openly contemplates getting into Brain Crush since it looks so fun, but Sam warns it would destroy her life, as Dice is already so far gone he doesn't even notice when Sam starts hitting him with a pillow. Kat points out that Dice's Pearphone is about to die, and because Kat has a slightly older Pearphone, she doesn't have a cord compatible with his, a scheme which she says the Pear Company does to make you buy more cords. And so as Sam goes back to fixing the door, Dice runs out and slams it, getting Sam's fingers crushed in the process. Later, Kat rolls Sam into Elderly Acres in a shopping cart, as Sam's hands are bandaged up, so she can't walk. Kat tries to help Sam out of the cart, doing so by sticking her head between Sam's legs and lifting that way. However, they suddenly see a terrifying sight. Nona is now also addicted to Brain Crush, as she's been playing it on her Pear Pad. As the girls try to reach Nona, everyone in the home starts moaning like zombies, saying they have to find brains to crush. The girls lock the zombies inside the home and find a police officer and beg for his help. We see that he's also affected by the virus, and he becomes distracted long enough that Sam and Kat steal his utility belt. You know, like Batman has. He has one of those.
I've got a tool belt like Tim the Toolman Taylor.
And they steal it, and just because it's cool, they don't use it later. So the girls manage to get Dice and Nona back into the apartment, where they play the game quietly in the corner. Sam can't change the channel because her hands are all bandaged up, so instead she takes off her shoes and socks to begin controlling it with her feet, because what else would you do? However, in this process, she accidentally switches the TV to composite video. So later, Kat is backstage prepping for her one-woman show, wearing a fake red beard and, confusingly, speaking with a British accent. Sam enters and begins a long bit about how hard it is to use the bathroom, as loud banging noises suddenly emit from the walls. Kat explains that there is a kids' dojo next door. A theater employee says the audience is ready, and Kat can begin. So Kat starts her show, and you could have guessed this, but no one is watching because they're all playing Brain Crush. The play is really embarrassing and just sad, to the point that even Nona and Dice occasionally break from their zombie mind virus to question Kat's creative choices. Meanwhile, the biggest creative choice I want to bring up is that of the actual showrunners. It's interesting that this episode was filmed pretty substantially far into Ariana's career blowing up, but despite this, it seems that the show is pivoting in no way to take advantage of this. And I'm not angry or in disagreement with that creative decision, I just think it's pretty interesting. In some ways, you have to wonder if Ariana liked it this way. Maybe to her, taking a break from her serious and hectic celebrity life to go back to doing absolutely absurdist stuff like this on the weekends was somehow therapeutic. Or maybe she hated it as much as I do. It's just hard to tell some days. The audience tells Kat to shut up so they can concentrate on the game, and Kat runs away crying. Sam nearly assaults a random child, with her bandages being the only thing stopping her. Back in her dressing room, Kat apologizes to Abraham Lincoln, whom she now feels a spiritual connection with, as they both have incredibly bad luck at theaters. That's the actual line in the episode. It's not me making a witty joke. That's what they say. Sam tries to comfort Kat, but Kat won't be happy until the audience pays her attention. Sam, listening to the noises next door, comes up with an idea, and soon enough, all of the young dojo members are running in and begin breaking the audience's phones and Pear Pads. Several minutes later, and all of the technology is broken, and the audience is thoroughly terrified into watching Kat's awful play. Later, at the apartment, Kat says that she can't get her fake beard off because she used Grizzly glue. Yes, the same Grizzly glue that Kat used in Victoria Season 1 to put the monster makeup on Tori. Kat literally never learns anything. However, Nona rips the beard off, and Kat seems to be okay. Dice and Nona reflect on how easily they got addicted to the game, and the quartet agree that it's sad how so much of humanity is now addicted to screens, always gaming or tweeting, never being able to experience the world around them. A quietness fills the room, and they all decide to watch TV. This episode is just supposed to be cartoony and stupid, but how it comes across as an aggressive metaphor for the iCarly culture takeover from the perspective of cable television, which really only speaks to the sadness of cable television. Because for a long time, cable TV was the thing, right? It had everyone's attention because there was nothing else to do. If there was a cultural phenomenon that took the nation by storm, it either came from movie theaters, the radio, or cable. That was pretty much it. But then phones came out, social media algorithms came out, new media in Silicon Valley started a bidding war for your attention span. And suddenly, cable TV couldn't get anyone to look twice at their content, and they were left babysitting children with a constantly decreasing attention span, just begging for anyone to give them even the slightest amount of praise and attention that they so easily had before. Fart noises, part 2. Okay, so at this point in the video, I'd like to stop for a moment and take a little break. I'll explain why momentarily, but first, let's go ahead and get caught up on our hashtag crimes of these 5 hashtag episodes. Hashtag crime number 104 is Sam and Cat stealing $4,000 from a buggy ATM. Hashtag crime number 105 is Sam pouring a slushie down Scott Bio's pants. Hashtag crime number 106 is police brutality, but Sam is a citizen and she was just acting out police duty, so I guess hashtag crime number 106 is snitch brutality. Hashtag crime number 107 is Dice and the Continuity Cameo Gang playing poker at Bots. Hashtag crime number 108 is Sam and Jade killing the Red Robot. Hashtag crime number 109 is Sam and Cat stealing a police officer's Batman utility belt. And hashtag crime number 110 is Sam recruiting an army of dojo children to break all of the technology in the audience of Cat's terrible one-woman show.
Hey Quinn, did you hear that Betty White died? Yeah, I'm gonna miss her. I love that scene in the Star Wars Holiday Special. There was more than one Golden Girl?
So the episode starts with us returning to a familiar location from the start of season 2-ish, the gas station, which Sam and Cat robbed earlier in the season. The girls are there to put up a flyer for their babysitting service, but decide they also want to pick up some Blue Dog soda on the way out. However, the store is swarmed with government agents guarding the stuff. And we learn that Blue Dog Soda has been banned in California for having too much sugar. We meet a muscular government man who explains that thanks to his campaigning, the State Bureau of Interference has passed a regulation making it illegal to buy or drink Blue Dog Soda. He then takes note of their babysitting advert and takes a photo. He explains he might use their service as he hates his son. Okay, so obviously the big point here is to introduce the narrative plot point of a soda prohibition. But it's also worth pointing out that this is basically a parody of a real thing that happened around that same part of the decade. In 2013, New York City attempted to implement a regulation banning the sale of sugary drinks past a certain cup size. Famously announced by Michael Bloomberg, the regulation would have been enforced as a health code in the city. And while this change did pass that year, it was struck down by the New York Supreme Court. The most obvious parallel here is that Blue Dog Soda is being banned due to a bureaucratic regulation and not an actual law. But furthermore, this episode did predict a similar war on soda that happened in California throughout the rest of the 2010s. In November 2014, Berkeley, California became the first city in America to implement a controversial soda tax, which made buying sugary drinks within the city more expensive than other options. Some reports indicate that this led to a 50% drop in soda sales. More cities adopted this in years to come, causing California's state legislature to ban cities from implementing local soda taxes until 2031. It's wild to think that we're actually closer to 2031 than we are to 2016. That's not actually true, I just wanted to scare you. But on top of all that, this episode is also defined by being yet another ripoff of an episode of Zoe 101. This one is based on the season 4 episode Coffee Cart Ban, where coffee is banned on campus and the kids start selling it illegally. Anyways, let's get back to the bad show. After the title sequence, Kat tries to teach Goomer to hula hoop before Dice suddenly runs in, revealing that he has, in a closed safe, his last bottle of Blue Dog soda. Dice says it's likely the last bottle in California and tells Goomer to check it out. Goomer mishears this as chuck it out and throws it at a passing car. So they go into the apartment where we discover that Sam has taken things into her own hands, as she has studied the soda online and is trying to deduce the exact formula. However, when Kat tries it, she says it's all wrong.
Well, if we're talking about the basic flavor profile of Blue Dog, the primary taste is a 60-40 blend of vanilla and citrus, with trace amounts of cherry, clove, nutmeg, and juniper.
Jupiter!
Kat promises she can make the soda herself, and it will only take 3 hours. Dice retells the story of Goomer throwing the bottle at the street, and Sam decides they're going to take sponges and get every drop that spilled off of the side of the road as they squeeze the soda into their mouths. Can you tell that this is supposed to be meth? So 3 hours later, the gang takes shots and declare Kat's blend is identical to the original, if not better. They all agree they should start selling the stuff, not to make money, but as a protest, but also to make money.
Well, if we're gonna produce that much soda, we're gonna need a supply and distribution network, and also a comprehensive marketing strategy that'll inform the public about our product while not raising suspicion in the law enforcement community. I just found a worm in my pocket.
Sam says they need somewhere secret and hidden to make the soda, and Dice suggests the secret room hidden behind their wall safe. So Kat texts Sam all the ingredients they need, and they go out and buy it all at once. A rookie mistake.
Don't buy everything in one place. Do it piecemeal. Different items, different stores. Attracts less attention.
We see a long musical montage of the girls making Blue Dog soda, with emphasis being put on close-ups of the blue fluid flooding tubes and measuring equipment. The background music is very swanky, emphasizing the intended gag, that this sequence is a parody of the meth montages from Breaking Bad. My favorite thing about this is that on the Sam and Kat wiki, it says the concept of the episode may be a reference Breaking Bad. The article basically says this twice and it doesn't elaborate any further. And I love that because it carries this hilarious energy of like, this episode might be a parody of Breaking Bad. I'm not sure because my mom won't let me watch that show. So the girls get many desperate customers coming to their window, including a cameo by Woody from iCarly and Victorious, and Randy. You remember Randy, right? I don't. There's a knock at the door, and Kat opens it to find the State Bureau of Interference guy, who wants to ask some questions. Sam comes out and shuts the door in his face. The vibe I get is that the Bureau guy is supposed to be a parody of Hank, right? Because obviously they eventually reveal that he's only there to ask about the babysitting service and they're all friendly with him. So he is the figure who has a close kinship with the main characters, despite it being his actual job to stop the illegal stuff going on in the show. Okay, so it's time for another one of my pointless tangents about something else entirely. When I was in high school, we had this class called media that everyone wanted to take, because when you were in media, what you did was you made presentations and monthly, specials that everyone in school had to watch that were supposed to be recapping what was going on at the school, but everyone just used it as an excuse to make skits. Every wannabe YouTuber at that school just joined media so they can make comedy, and it was really beautiful for what it was. So my junior year of high school, to advertise the yearbook, they did an elaborate Breaking Bad parody, where our yearbook teacher played a parody of Walter White, with the joke being that he was making illegal yearbooks.
This is the best yearbook I've ever seen. I think we can make a lot of money together, Daniel.
This other guy I knew named Brad, who was one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life, he played a parody of Jesse. And then they introduced a brand new character named Mitch. This was done explicitly so they could get away with directly copying Aaron Paul quotes from the show.
This is my own private domicile and I will not be harassed. Bitch!
This is my own private domicile and I will not be harassed. Mitch.
This joke has never left my mind. Sometimes it's still the first thing I think about when people bring up Breaking Bad, even 10 years later. And I think that speaks to the power of a good joke, even in the least professional setting possible.
Look at that, Mr. Roof. That's the best I've ever seen.
Do you have any idea of the street value of this?
So here's why I've told you all this. The bureau guy explains he's just there because he knows about the babysitting service, and he introduces to the girls his son, who is named
Mitch.
So now the show has unknowingly set up an extremely specific expectation. This episode will get a passing grade, but only if they go out of their way to have Mitch linger around scenes so that Sam or Kat can occasionally blurt out Aaron Paul quotes, but instead of saying bitch, they say Mitch. And if that doesn't happen, then this show is officially the least creative thing ever made by human hands. So the bureau guy explains he needs the babysitters not just because he hates his son, but also because someone is making illegal Blue Dog soda, and he has to find and arrest them. Back in the bedroom, Kat freaks out and says they have to quit making Blue Dog because it's going to get them in trouble. But Sam insists they only need to make 100 more bottles just to keep for themselves for the next few years. While Sam babysits Mitch, Kat, Dice, and Goomer get to work, but nearly cause an explosion when Dice forgets to shut off the pressure valve. Yes, that's really what they say. So 3 days later, we see Sam and Mitch carving with cheese, and Mitch has made a dinosaur. The bureau guy comes in and says that he still hasn't found the crooks. But just as he's trying to pay Sam, a cataclysm shakes the apartment. The meth lab has exploded. So the girls get caught in the act, and the bureau dude says they're in big trouble. The gang stand up to him and ask why Blue Dog soda had to be banned. And he says it's because it's not healthy and some people drink too much. So the gang asks, well, why not ban sandwiches? Or sleeping? Or roller coasters? Or pooping? The bureau man is moved and breaks down crying, saying he will turn back the Blue Dog soda ban the next day. He then sees his son's sculpture and hugs him, saying he's very proud of his son. The gang share a final soda as we fade to black. They didn't do the joke. They didn't say Mitch's name like Aaron Paul says bitch. They introduced a character named Mitch and they didn't fucking. Anyways, the moral of this one is that crystal meth should be legal. With that, it's time for Sam and Kat to continue another tradition of the shows that came before it. So let's go ahead and talk about Sam and Kat Season 1, Episode 27, #blooper episode, aka the one that definitely shouldn't count. So a quick recap to those of you who are watching my Sam and Kat saga as a standalone project. One of the biggest contributions that iCarly made to the NSU was the introduction of a divergent parallel universe, which we know as the Metaverse. This is a universe somewhat like our own, where iCarly, Victorious, and Sam and Kat are all TV shows made by heavily fictionalized versions of the actual cast and crew. Some of the main differences so far have been that Miranda Cosgrove was presented as the producer and director of iCarly, even being in charge of who was fired from the show. Rex from Victorious was presented as being portrayed by a sentient puppet named Christopher Kane, infamous for having many accusations in the acting community, and many actors have been portrayed as having identical personalities to the characters they play on TV. So, #blooper episode starts with Jeanette McCurdy, Ariana Grande, Cameron Ocasio, Zoran Korak, and Marie Cheatham arriving at a diner. as they're spending time together during their lunch break. Although Zoran is instructed to sit at an island away from the rest of the gang so he doesn't block their view of the fourth wall.
How come I can't sit over there with you guys?
Because you're not a main character yet.
Oh.
Hey, man. I know how it feels.
The ongoing complete contradiction that every single memorable episode of this show features Goomer as the driving narrative as per why the episode happens, but he's not a main character somehow. So a waiter comes out and recognizes everyone as being from the show Sam and Carly, which they quickly correct to Sam and Kat. The waiter asks what they're doing there, and Jeanette says they're hoping he'll bring them food. The waiter says Jeanette is just like Sam, and everyone agrees without commentary. Zoran says that he plays Goomer, and everyone stares at him. The waiter explains that he's an aspiring actor, and pulls out a headshot. He asks if the gang ever has problems remembering their lines. Jeanette says they do, and pulls out a pear pad. You know, like we have in the fucking real world. She says she has a bloopers reel prepared of them messing up their lines. They finish watching the first reel, and the waiter says he has to call his grandma and tell her about meeting them, despite him not taking their order. Then a teenage girl runs up to the table and says she loves Sam and Kat. She suddenly becomes lucid that she's actually in an episode right now and asks if she's missed the theme song yet because she loves it. She loves the Backhouse Mike song. I'm never that far, no matter where you are. Believe in everything you capture. That's her favorite song. The gang says she's arrived just in time, and they play the song on their real-world actual pear pads. After the titles, Cameron says they only have 25 minutes left on their lunch break, and Cameron, buddy, you better enjoy that time while you can. Soon, they're approached by two teenage boys who recognize them all from the show. The boys ask if they ever get the giggles while filming the show, and so Cameron pulls out a compilation of the cast getting the giggles. Zoran stands up to watch the bloopers too, and Jeanette tells him to get back to his island.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
After the reel is done, he again asks to join them at their table, and they again tell him to stay away.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Hello. And you could have...
The table is then approached by a mother who says that her daughter loves Sam and Kat, and there's just no way. There is no way that the cast of this show gets approached in public this often without people mentioning iCarly, Victorious, or the music of Ariana Grande. The mom wants to know if the cast ever has problems with the props while they're filming, and Marie pulls out a pear pad to show them another compilation. There are Family Guy episodes with fewer cutaways than this. Okay, now watch what happens here. First of all, the pear pad screen, being shaped like a pear, presents the video in a smaller, much smaller 16:9 box. So Nona expands this box with her fingers naturally, and this does not full screen the video. It zooms in the video while keeping it inside of the original 16:9 box. I can only presume that this means that pear pad technology lacks the ability to do full screen video. Doesn't that piss you off? Anyway, so they watch the compilation, and the mom is upset that she can't get her daughter to verbalize.
I wish my daughter had friends.
The gang call for their waiter again, but instead get two kids who want a photo, and they ask Ariana to take it.
You want me in the picture, right?
No.
Oh, no.
We want a picture with Marie.
It turns out that the kids are huge fans of Marie and list a bunch of big-name TV shows and movies that the actress has been in.
Gunsmoke, General Hospital, Katniss and Lacey, Beetlejuice, Search for Tomorrow.
I'm shocked that they didn't include Quantum Leap, Columbo, Days of Our Lives in the 1960s, Soul Man, Dangerous Curves, Days of Our Lives in the 1970s, Days of Our Lives in the 1990s, The Nanny, Scrubs, Days of Our Lives in 2010, and finally Bizaardvark. But I guess that last one's a spoiler. So yeah, they take the picture.
Is it a good pic?
Yeah, fantastic.
Don't get jealous, Ari. Don't get jealous just because you you weren't in Quantum fucking Leap. Yeah, you suck, Ari. Yeah, I'm a fucking Marie stan. I will defend my queen. So the kids turn to leave, but the gang asks them to stop real quick and ask a question for a cutaway setup. So they do, and bang, you got yourself another compilation. Everyone's angry that the waiter hasn't even taken their order, but they all turn nice when another fan approaches. The fan identifies that the cast is going to be filming the meta bloopers episode that day, and says she knows this because the show's creator has tweeted that information out.
Genius.
The girl asks if there's going to be a commercial break, and they say yes, and Cameron shows her all of the commercials that they're going to show during that episode's break. This joke would be really funny if people still watched old TV shows the way they were intended to be seen. Their waiter finally returns and asks if they want their check. Everyone points out that they haven't even ordered yet, and the waiter says he'll take their order after they answer a simple question. Is it exciting to film their show? So Zoran pulls out his pear pad and shows the waiter a compilation of everyone being exhausted on set and yawning. A metacontextual joke about how they filmed very long hours on this show to make up for how few days Ariana had to commit to the show. Everyone says those were the wrong clips, and so Zoran plays the stunts compilation, with highlights including a group of babies climbing up a wall and Scott the Woz dying. The waiter says he'll get their order once he finds a pen and runs off screen. But then Jeanette notices something. Tandy, the red robot, Tandy from their show Sam and Cat, is also at the restaurant. Tandy, the actor Tandy, who plays himself in their show, reveals that he already ordered his food a couple minutes ago and they brought it out to him right away. Cameron says that he has to share since they've been waiting, and so Tandy murders Cameron. He disintegrates him with a laser. Cameron is dead now. Tandy, the actor who plays himself on Sam and Cat, just killed a child, and that child was Cameron Ocasio. Cameron Ocasio, the actor, is now dead in the metaverse. The red robot asks if anyone else wants his food, and everyone says no, because he just murdered someone. There is no attempt to call the police, and he just starts to roll away. A child then approaches Tandy and asks if anything has ever gone wrong with the red and blue robots. Tandy says that he actually has a compilation of just that, and shows some cutaway bloopers on his welder visor. Except all of the clips aren't bloopers, but actual scenes from actual episodes where the robots are malfunctioning to fit the narrative. At this point, you could argue this episode is as much a clip show as it is a blooper reel. The kid asks the red robot if he's dating the blue robot, and the red robot gets frantic and begins insisting that someone hijacked his phone and those texts weren't from him. The kid walks away, not knowing how close he came to being murdered by a bloodthirsty android. Also, during that last compilation, Zoran has taken Cameron's spot at the table, the group readily adjusting to the murder of a 14-year-old. A bunch of waiters bring food to the table, and Jeanette thanks them for bringing them the food that they ordered. However, Zoran loudly points out that the food is for someone else, and the waiters come back to seize the seasoned delicacies. Ariana begins crying, and Jeanette comforts her, leading to the first time in the show that they've actually addressed the 5'1" elephant in the room.
You got a huge music career going for you. Double platinum. Thank you.
The girl who was setting up the opening sequence returns and reveals that she's brought her friend, JD. He's never seen the show, so she was hoping the girls could show him a compilation of funny clips that represent the magic of Sam and Cat, alongside one exclusive blooper from the show Drake and Josh. This is the compilation that includes the most actual bloopers, where the cast says funny stuff and they riff a little, and it's sort of sad that they have to subsidize these moments with clips of loud noises and stunt work from the show itself. It kind of implies that the show maybe wasn't a blast to film, so they have to fill in the bloopers episode with filler and sawdust. And then at the end, we get 3 bloopers, count 'em, 3 bloopers from Drake and Josh.
You won the scoring game!
That didn't make any sense, I'm sorry.
Yay!
Now, a quick tangent about this, since it's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. So you might remember that in episode 1 of this miniseries, I binged iCarly, not to be confused with episode 0, The Reign of Fred Figglehorn. I did a segment discussing the history of aspect ratio and iCarly. To recap, iCarly was originally broadcast to most Americans in 4:3. However, the show began when it was clear that the total switch to HD was not far away. So every episode of the show was actually filmed in 16:9, edited in 16:9, and then cropped to 4:3 for both initial broadcast and the DVD releases. This meant that when Nickelodeon did eventually make the full switch to HD, they could continue airing even the oldest episodes of the show. This is notable because some iCarly episodes have extended editions with long, exclusive deleted scenes available only on the original DVD releases. So a lot of these scenes are not available in the 16:9 format, despite the original edits being readily available in HD. Another detail worth considering is that even through the production of Sam and Cat, it was more than common for foreign Nickelodeon affiliates to still broadcast in standard definition, 4:3. So even episodes of Victorious, for instance, are framed for the 4:3 aspect ratio and only follow the fundamental rule of thirds if you crop the sides off. Anyway, so here's the big mystery. Occasionally, throughout iCarly, Victorious, and now Sam and Cat, they have shown old clips from the program Drake and Josh. But every time they do this, the show is presented in the uncropped 16:9. But ignoring TV movies, Drake and Josh was always presented in 4:3 across its entire broadcast and on all home media releases. But these sparse HD clips have led Lost Media hunters to theorize that a 16:9 edit of Drake and Josh seasons 2 through 4 must exist somewhere at Nickelodeon. However, I think a lot of this can be easily debunked just based on what we see in this episode. You'll remember that I said earlier that iCarly was originally edited in 16:9, then cropped right before broadcast. This is obvious when you switch back and forth between the two versions, as the only difference is additional material at the side of the screen, balanced with the same amount of material on both the left and right. I do not think that Drake and Josh was originally done like this. For those early seasons, I believe that the show was always edited in 4:3, and only the raw footage from the cameras exists in 16:9. Take this blooper that they show in the episode from Season 2, Episode 4, Football. Let's compare this clip to what we actually saw on TV. If Drake and Josh had been edited in HD and then cropped right before broadcast, then the cropping would have been consistent across every single cut, with an equal amount taken off of the left and right sides of the screen. But presuming that the camera wasn't shifting substantially between takes, what we're actually seeing is evidence of pan and scanning. That's when an editor manually zooms and adjusts the footage to look best in 4:3, instead of just cropping off the left and right sides identically. If this is an accurate conclusion, what it basically means is that the football episode of Drake and Josh must have been filmed in HD, then tweaked shot by shot in a standard definition editing suite. I would further speculate, based on the quality difference, that the episode was likely dubbed to an analog format at some point. Probably Betacam, if I were to guess. Now, this was Season 2. Apparently, the final season of the show has occasionally been broadcast in 16:9 in the modern HD era, which makes sense, as this was directly before iCarly started. So they were likely experimenting with this evergreen editing compromise. But it's worth noting that the HD Season 4 edits of Drake and Josh are ridiculously sloppy. You'll notice that occasionally these thin black bars will appear at the left or right side of the screen. I take this to mean that these shots were shifted left and right with 4:3 cropping in mind. But despite whatever they were doing with the 4th season of the show, I'm going to presume that every time Drake and Josh clips have been presented in later shows, the original files have been dug out and re-edited shot by shot. This means that, realistically, the only way we could watch seasons 2 and 3 in HD would be if Nickelodeon paid someone to fully re-edit all 31 episodes of these 2 seasons, carefully recreating transitions, title sequences, and any special effects while using the HD files. Given that this era of Nickelodeon has proven to be something that ages best when it's barely inspected past brief glances, and that there isn't any money being lost on continuing to release the SD copies, I don't see this happening. This is especially true when you remember that other standard definition shows filmed in HD, like Malcolm in the Middle and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, are infamously worse looking after being restored to 16:9, with restorations often leaving in camera equipment and failing to recreate color corrections and special effects. Anyways, this is just my typical reminder for you guys to hit subscribe, so maybe I'll do a Drake and Josh video next year. So they come out of the cutaway and JD says the show looks awesome and he'll check it out. After this, they're approached again by Michael Eric Reed, who says he hears there's 45 seconds left in the episode and he wants to do his blooper dance. Jeanette asks what that is, and Mikey begins an erratic dance that lasts the rest of the episode, and he soon hypnotizes the rest of the cast to join in. Soon, all of the Shruggers join into the dance as well. The universe comes to an end. Consciousness itself is no more. There is only Mikey Reed. Returning ourselves to NSU Prime, episode 28 is called #Fresno Girl, and we start out with Kat cooking in the kitchen. Suddenly, her measuring cup shatters, and we see the culprit. Sam has bought a patented wiener flinger, and has shot a hot dog straight through Kat's cup. Kat reveals she's cooking for Kim, a girl they babysit often, and she's already made her specialty, fudge piles, which of course look like little piles of poop. Suddenly, Goomer bursts through the door, exclaiming that he has to find Timmy T. Silly Goomer! Drake Bell isn't in this show! As Dice runs in, Goomer continues freaking out, and so Sam shoots a hot dog directly into his face. So it turns out Timmy T is a lucky t-shirt that Goomer always wears before his MMA fights. This is the first time that Goomer's MMA career has been mentioned in a very long time, and also I don't think that Goomer consistently wore the same shirt every time he went to a match, but at the exact same time, I don't feel like checking. Editor. Okay, so post a picture of Timmy T from later in the episode, and then put that next to whatever Goomer was wearing in the motorcycle missing episode. If it's the same, good for them. But if it's not, morons. Dice notices Kat's fudge piles, and tries to eat one when offered. However, the ball solidifies in his mouth, and he fails to swallow it, or even pry it from his teeth with a fork. So Kim finally comes over, and her mom is hot. I won't linger on it. I'm right. I've said it. Let's move on now. Kim's mom says her daughter is stressed out because she has a math test coming up, and if she doesn't pass, she will be forced to take summer school. As her mother leaves for a cruise, Sam and Kat promise that they'll do anything to help her pass the test. The two theorize that the girl just needs some healthy motivation, so they ask her what she wants more than anything else in the world. She responds, a Fresno girl doll, and Sam and Kat agree that if she gets a B or higher on her test, they'll buy her the doll. Sam and Kat tell Goomer to help Dice get the fork out of his mouth, and Goomer manages to pull the fudge loose, along with several of Dice's teeth. So after the title sequence, Goomer is seen covering bots with missing posters for Timmy T. The Sam and Kat wiki states, Timmy T is a reference to Timmy Turner in The Fairly Odd Parents. This is written with confidence, because the editor's mom lets them watch that show. So Sam approaches and points out that there's a problem with Goomer's flyer. Because of poor phrasing, onlookers are natural to believe that Tommy T is Goomer's name, and that he is missing, not the shirt. Also, the reward for finding the shirt is listed as a free trip to Hawaii for you and all of your friends. Sam meets with Kim and Kat, and the girls reveal that Kim didn't get a B. She got an A 92 to be exact. So the girls leave to buy Kim a Fresno Girl doll and pass Randy with his Boy Scout troop. The scouts run over to Goomer and excitedly say that they're going to Hawaii because they found Tommy T. Goomer asks where Tommy T is, and the troop say that he's Tommy T. Goomer becomes overwhelmed and runs from the restaurant, with the boys not far behind. So at the Fresno Girl shop, we see that Fresno Girls are the in-universe parody of American Girl dolls, meaning this episode is likely intended as a callback to Season 1, Episode 15, where we met a mysterious man who treated a little girl doll like his actual daughter. If one takes this retcon very seriously, we could argue that the first time we saw a Fresno Girl doll was in Victorious Season 3, Episode 11, when Tori found a talking Tori doll inside of Crazy Pawnee's backpack. So back in the present, Kim picks out a Fresno Girl doll named Gabriella. All is well until the staff reveal that the doll will cost $150, which is over $185 today. That's a thing I do now. I calculate inflation to make you feel bad about the economy. The girls agree to pay, but are frustrated when Gabriella is presented to them without hair or clothes. It's explained that this is the doll without accessories. The girls have the clothing and hair added back on, and are told that the doll now costs $275.25, which is $340 in today's money. The shop then shows Kim the official bicycle, bringing the total to $340, which is $420 today. Later, Sam briefly yells at Kim for the situation before apologizing and trying to cool off. Kat asks Sam to put down her wiener flinger because
you're mad, and when you're mad, you shouldn't handle wieners.
At the same moment, Kat prepares more of her fudge piles, in spite of Sam's insistence that she always makes them too chewy. Suddenly, Dice runs in with a heavily disguised Goomer, and they recap their predicament. Dice explains that Randy is the primary antagonist of this episode, as he saw Goomer's flyer and now wants the promised prize.
The trip to Hawaii?
It's pronounced Hawaii.
I thought it was Hawaii.
Dice needs the girls to hide Goomer while he goes around and takes down all of the flyers to save face. However, Goomer is weird, so the girls tell him to go to their room and lie on the ground, face down. Sam suddenly notices a squirrel outside and tries to shoot it with a wiener, but Kat interferes and, by accident, they shoot Gabriella with a hot dog, knocking her leg off. Sam says the store can fix her and that it's no big deal. We then wipe to the store, where the employee says that it is a big deal. The episode cuts there, but there's an extended edit of this scene in the credits, so I'm just gonna keep describing it. The employee says they can fix the doll in their on-site Fresno Girl doll hospital. The girls want to know how much this will cost, and the employee says that all Fresno Girl healthcare is free, presuming the girls have previously bought the Fresno Girl doll health insurance package. Laugh track. Meanwhile, Goomer is ambushed by Randy and his friends, who say that they found Tommy T and now they want their reward. They all jump him at once, resulting in a mobile mob. Meanwhile, Gabriella comes out of the hospital in a miniature wheelchair. I looked this up. This is an actual American Girl doll wheelchair. I think that's really cool. So they get their bill, and fixing the doll will cost Sam and Kat $223, which is $275 today. Sam says that they're going to pay the bill, but first they're going to give a gift, as they'll be giving everyone who works at the store one of Kat's fudge piles. As all of the staff and security chow down, Sam goes to the announcer mic and declares that for the next 5 minutes, all Fresno Girl dolls and accessories are free. The room fills with chaos as no one is able to do anything because of the fudge piles, and in the confusion, the trio run off without paying. Dice discovers that Goomer has been kidnapped by Randy and his gang, but the girls don't care. The Sam and Cat Wiki helpfully gives these notes about the episode. Goofs. Goomer would have taken his shirt off before taking the picture of Tommy T, so he wouldn't have been beat up by Randy and his Boy Scout troop. I think when they wrote this one, they thought that he took the photo that day. I don't think he did. Randy could have been arrested for kidnapping Goomer. Goomer could have filed a restraining order against Randy and his friends. I truly believe that critical thinking in media would be dead today if it wasn't for the Sam and Cat fandom wiki. Wiki's so dumb. I'm not saying wiki, it's wiki. It's time to give Kim her allergy medication, so Kat goes through her backpack to find it, where she finds Kim's real math test, which she got a D- on. Sam says she's very disappointed.
When you pull a scam, you always destroy the original evidence so you don't get caught.
So Randy comes in holding a roll of freshly used duct tape and says they'll never see Tommy T again unless he gets his tickets to Hawaii. The trio ask if there's anything else Randy might want instead of a trip, and he says his birthday is coming up, so he'd like a date with a girl, a real classy girl. No trash. So Sam and Kat come up with a compromise. Kim will go on a date with Randy, and in exchange, she will get Gabriella back. Later, during the big date night between Randy and Kim at Bots, the girls say that everyone won, but Goomer says he didn't win, he just got kidnapped and never found his Tommy T. Dice tells him to take his shirt off and turn around, and we see that Goomer was wearing the shirt backwards the whole time. 2 quick notes about this episode. First of all, it's strange how similar this episode is to the episode of Victorious where Robbie sells Rex, at least in terms of the resolution. The fact that forcing a tweenage girl to go out with a tweenage boy who she's secretly not interested in helps cause the happy ending where a personalized object ends up in the original owner's hands. It's either a strange coincidence or really lazy reuse of material. Secondly, according to IMDb, this episode is the final appearance of Randy. I suppose it is entirely valid to presume that because he just kidnapped a grown man and tied him up with duct tape for a ransom, he is in juvie now. The show will never be the same again. So season 1 episode 29 is called #StuckInABox, and you'll never guess what happens to Kat in this one. So at the start of the episode, Kat is riding her bicycle mid-air, and it's hanging from the ceiling. This is actually pretty nostalgic, as the Shea household also had a bunch of bicycles hanging from the ceiling in iCarly. I never figured out why though. Thinking about iCarly for more than 5 seconds gives me major whiplash when I then go back to watching this show. And I remember how insanely stupid the premise of this show is. 5 episodes to the finale, and I'm still not used to Sam Puckett and Kat Valentine living together and being forced to have conversations. So Kat explains that she went down to the supermarket where she met a man named Chico, who said he had a toolbox in his van. She invited him back to the apartment and asked if he could attach her bike to the ceiling. He did, and then left, and Kat has been stuck up there for 5 hours.
Please help me down.
Kat asks where Sam has been, and she explains that she was getting them tickets. Tickets to ride all of the roller coasters at Mystic Mountain Saturday night. Mystic Mountain, by the way, is a theme park in the NSU commonly brought up in shows set on the West Coast. If my memory serves me right, it originates in the 2006 Drake and Josh episode, The Demonator. It then reappeared in the 2008 Zoe 101 episode, Roller Coaster. After this, it was mentioned quite often in Victorious, but never actually seen. Mystic Mountain is supposed to be a parody of Six Flags Magic Mountain, and episodes set at Mystic Mountain were also universally filmed at Magic Mountain. Kat says that she thought Mystic Mountain got shut down because all of the rides were unsafe and a lot of people got hurt. But Sam says that they fixed most of them. And before they reopen the park officially, they need guinea pigs to test all of the rides. Kat asks why they would want to ride roller coasters that might be unsafe. And Sam says that it's because they won't have to wait in line. They both holler in celebration. Dice and Goomer come in and they have a heavy box. I wonder where this is going. Dice reminds us that he's a magician, just like his actor is, and says that this is a rare item. Whoever they put in this box disappears. Goomer wants to be the one to be vanished by magic, but he's too big. If only there was someone in the room worth too much money to constantly be wasting their time on set. Oh wait! So Kat gets in the box, Dice closes it, and voila! The box will now not open. Kat is hashtag stuck in a box.
Ha! I love it. Can we get my mom in there?
Goomer breaks the handle trying to open the box, and Kat begins freaking out because she's stuck in a recording booth. I mean, stuck in a box, and also totally on set at the same time.
I hope there's a magic toilet in there.
After the title, Sam tries to take a crowbar to the box, but it bends in half. Sam asks Kat if she's okay, and she says that she's fine.
It's kinda cozy. It reminds me of my closet where I used to hide from my brother.
Well, why would you hide from your brother?
Just, to survive.
In short time, Kat's brother will cease being a mystery to Goomer. So later, Sam, Dice, and Goomer eat at Bots along with the box, and they're approached by the Red Robot. Goomer asks if he has lasers, and the Red Robot says he has one laser in his finger, which we previously saw in an alternate universe when he murdered Cameron Ocasio. The box reflects the death laser, and it catches Goomer's burger on fire. Goomer throws it behind him, getting two kids in trouble with their mom.
You never saw me!
Later, Sam tucks Kat into bed, and Kat eventually begins monologuing about all the deep thoughts she's been having while stuck in a box.
I've been going to school at Hollywood Arts for a long time now, and I still don't know. Do I want to be an actress or a singer?
Sam quietly walks out of the room while Kat discusses this with herself, ultimately ending with Kat singing while the box rocks back and forth. So there's a lot of scenes in this episode of Jennette McCurdy acting to the box, like just talking to the box as it says Ariana sound bites. And it's the most dull this show has ever been. I'm tempted to say that it's almost the most embarrassing the show's ever been, but I know that's probably not true. But oh boy, is it still embarrassing watching this episode. Miranda Cosgrove also tried to have a singing career while iCarly was on the air, and so there are Carly Light episodes in that show. But what they didn't do was go like, hey, record 15 minutes of Carly Shay soundbites, and Jennette can sit next to a CD player and pretend that Miranda's still in the room.
I'm still in a box.
Sure you are, Ariana. So Goomer comes in to save the episode and says it's weird talking to Kat while she's still in the box and they can't see her face. So he's drawn a picture of her face, and yep, that's her alright. So Dice explains that he knows a guy at the magic shop downtown named Vance Anderson, who is a total jerk but also used to be a famous teenage magician. If anyone can get Kat out of that contract, I mean box, it's him.
They used to make baseball bats out of wood, but now they're mostly made of aluminum. I just wanted to say something.
So Sam wants Goomer to put the box in his car, but he says that he lost it. This begs numerous questions. How did they get the box to Bots? What happened to the homeless person that was once living in the back of Goomer's car? All questions that would have been answered if episodes from this show got second drafts. But Kat has a solution and says that Nona still has the keys to her brother's car. Kat's brother, you'll remember, moved to Idaho to live in a mental health treatment facility. We've also previously seen her brother's car in the Victorious episode Car, Rain, and Fire. And, in a twist that I didn't see coming, the car they drive for the rest of this episode is actually that car. So they clearly only wrote this into the episode to show off that they somehow managed to keep track of this prop after Victorious ended. So they go to the magic shop and meet Vance Anderson, who looks like the talking cookie from Fred the Show. If you're watching this video right now, pause this video, go to IMDb, make an account, and give Fred the Show 10 stars. Then come back to this video and comment, "Fred the Show has a poor reputation exclusively with people who have never watched it and thus don't understand that it secretly has all of the qualities of a cult classic."
I'm gonna get that cake, Fred, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So Shane Top recalls that he gave Dice the advice to give up magic because he's terrible at it, and the two squabble. He also mentions that the box is made in Yerba, a country featured in Victorious. So Shane Top wants to go on a date with Sam after he opens the box, but she says that they're already going to Mystic Mountain. Shane pivots and says he'll open the box if they take him in Dice's place. Kat comments that she's suddenly finding it very hard to breathe inside the box. After they settle the topic, he explains there's a button on the back that automatically will open the box, but it doesn't work, and he explains the box must be defective. Shane says that before they leave, he'd like a kiss from Sam.
You want a kiss? From me?
Oh, yeah.
KK.
Sam says she wants them to do it in private, and you guessed it, extreme acts of violence occur off-screen. A red liquid puddles onto the floor. Sam comes out and explains she knocked over a bucket of red paint. Laugh track. So Sam decides to keep her promise and takes Kat to Mystic Mountain, box and all. But when Goomer hits a speed bump, the box comes flying out of the car. The rest of the gang don't notice and keep going, as Kat yells for Sam. No one comes for help, and we fade to black. So remember a few episodes ago when I instructed you to start wondering about what the ideal final episode of Sam and Kat would be? I pick this one. I pick the episode where Kat is left trapped inside of a metal box, screaming for help on the ground, suffocating. And then the show ends and Kat Valentine is never seen again.
Just hear the sleigh bells singing.
It's been 3 years. Please, for the love of God, just kill me.
Hey Quinn, did you hear that I died? Solve my murder!